If you've ever listened to a band and thought, this sounds like a revolution with guitars, then you've probably heard of the MC5 or someone desperately trying to sound like them. So let's get ready to kick out the jams, mother. Yeah, I'm not going to say that on YouTube. The MC5's first album, Kick Out the Jams, wasn't just an album, it was a Molotov cocktail recorded live at the Grandee Ballroom in Detroit in 1969. The sound of five guys trying to set the establishment on fire, accidentally inventing punk rock in the process. When people talk about the roots of punk, they usually throw around names like the Stooges, the Velvet Underground, maybe even the New York Dolls. But long before punk had safety pins or a sneer, the MC5 were already screaming, "Kick out the jams, mother!" You get the idea. And they meant every word. Detroit in the late 60s was a powder keg. You had race riots, protests against the Vietnam War, and an auto industry that was falling apart. And right in the middle of it was the MC5, or Motor City 5 is what that stands for. The band was like a live wire plugged straight into the chaos of the age. They were led by Rob Tyner, the wild-haired frontman who had a voice that could peel paint off the wall. Wayne Kramer and Fred Sonic Smith handled the guitar duties. Michael Davis was on bass, and Dennis Thompson was the drummer. These were five guys who looked like they'd rather fight you than play for you. And to be honest, sometimes they did both. Their shows were explosive, literally. Smoke bombs, feedback, shouting, and a crowd that looked like they were just itching for a riot. Which makes some sense because the MC5 didn't just play music, they also played politics. Enter John Sinclair, a poet, an activist, and leader of the White Panther Party, which was mainly the louder and weed smoking counterpart of the Black Panthers. Sinclair became the band's manager, and under his guidance, MC5 turned their concerts into political rallies. Their message, power to the people, and turn the music up louder. They played outside the 1968 Democratic Convention where the police were cracking kids' heads outside. The FBI was taking notes. They had a file on the band. When you're in a rock group and the federal government is keeping tabs on you, you've probably made your point. But Sinclair's politics came with a price. He was later arrested for giving an undercover cop 2 joints and was sentenced to 10 years in jail. The band tried to keep going without him, but by then the movement and the industry were both turning against them. Now, Kick Out the Jams, their debut album, wasn't your typical record. It was recorded, like I said before, in Detroit's Grandee Ballroom. No studio polish, no overdubs, just raw chaos. The energy practically leaps out of the speakers. The title track became an anthem, but not without controversy. The original pressing had Rob Tyner yelling the unedited line, "Kick out the jams, mother effers." Department stores refused to carry the album, so the label censored it, which of course made it even more famous. Because if you want to make something iconic, just ban it. Musically, MC5 were a strange mix, part garage rock, part free jazz, part political sermon. Wayne Kramer's guitar solos sounded like Ornette Coleman on a good night, and the rhythm section just tried to keep the whole thing from collapsing. They weren't tight, they were volatile, and that was the entire point. They paved the way for bands like the Stooges, The Clash, the Sex Pistols, and even Rage Against the Machine has cited the MC5 as an influence. Basically, if your favorite band sounds like they're angry at capitalism, they're MC5 fans. But the music industry did not know what to do with them. They were too radical for rock radio and too rock and roll for the radicals. After Kick Out the Jams came out, their label dropped them. The revolution wasn't profitable, apparently. From the early 70s, the band was falling apart. Drugs, burnout, and endless FBI surveillance from the FBI took their toll. Fred Sonic Smith ended up marrying Patti Smith, punk's poet laureate, and he started helping her find her sound. Wayne Kramer did time for drugs, but he later reinvented himself after he got out and became a respected rock and roll elder statesman. Rob Tyner, the voice of the band, died in 1991, but his battle cry, "Kick out the jams, MFers," still echoes through every garage, every club, every festival where some guy with a guitar wants to start a riot. What made the MC5 so dangerous wasn't their volume. It was that they meant it. Their music wasn't a gimmick. It was a call to action. They didn't want to sell rebellion. They wanted to live it. And it cost them everything. But here's the thing. Kick Out the Jams, over 50 years later, still sounds dangerous. It hasn't lost a bit of its original spark. It's raw, unpredictable, and alive. Proof that sometimes you can change music history without ever even stepping into a recording studio. They weren't polished, they weren't marketable. The MC5 was the sound of America tearing itself apart and dancing to it. So if you ever need a reminder that rock and roll used to be dangerous, play Kick Out the Jams loud, and maybe keep an eye out for the FBI. What are your fave MC5 tunes? Did you ever get a chance to see them live? Post it down in the comments. We'd all love to hear it. As usual, there'll be lots of cool links in the description. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Most of the folks who watch my videos don't subscribe. But if you do, it's completely free and it will help my channel to grow. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to kick out the jams, and I will see you in the next one.